VAATV, Vietnamese American Arizona Television.
Hello, we're sorry for the little of the disconnection earlier. We have Mr. Scott Barlow talking about the real estate investment on VAATV real estate program from today, every Thursday. And we were talking about the taxes. Yeah, yes. He was explaining. I'm just rephrase. Like before beginning, we were asking about the mobile home and how they taxes, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, and he's gonna explain how each of the property taxes, like real property.
Yes. Right? Mm-hmm. Let's start with the manufactured or the mobile homes.
Yes.
You can actually have a situation where you have the exact same manufactured or mobole home sitting side by side, and one's a piece of real property and one is a piece of personal property.
Right.
So remember what we've talked about before. Real property includes the ground. So for example, you can have a manufactured or a mobile home and it's in a park and they lease the land.
Lease land.
They don't own the land, but the manufactured home sits on it. That manufactured home is probably going to be considered as personal property. Now you have a different, same manufactured home, but it's sitting on a different piece of property.
Right.
And the owner of the manufactured home owns the land.
The land.
And he's gone to the county and he has applied for an affidavit of fixture.
Right.
An affidavit of fixture is, it's a legal document, but it changes the status from personal property to real property.
Oh.
And so now that manufactured home, it's considered as affixed to the land. I mean, it's the same equipment underneath holding the land, holding it down and securing it, but it's that legal designation that changes it from personal property to real property.
Is that difficult to do that? I mean, with the affidavit, is that required, like the inspector will have to come back and inspect and find out?
In some cases,
yes.
A lot of title companies are very good about being able to get that all through for you. Sometimes you need to have an inspector come out and there's some other steps that you will need to go through.
Okay.
But for the most part, it's pretty straightforward. There's a little bit of expense to it, but once it's converted to real property, then it gets taxed at a real property residential rate.
So the rate will be lower than the personal tax, right?
I believe so. I don't know.
Buy and sell.
I don't follow mobile or manufactured home sales.
Yeah.
Unless they are real estate.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So when you're talking about something that's personal property, I don't have a lot of knowledge on that.
That's why I see a lot because it's cheap. It's very cheap. Some mobile home is like about $20,000, $30,000, something like that. But like they don't understand more about the taxes, the real property, and then the monthly payment that they have to pay, and even higher than the.
Well, and that's just it. In some cases, the land lease is pretty expensive.
Yes.
I mean, you may be talking
$1,000
a month just for a strip of land that's not much larger than the footprint of that manufactured home.
Even like one bedroom or is a small mobile home, they still have to pay the same amount.
That's exactly right.
Wow. Yeah. We was thinking like if like you mentioned the piece of property like that, the way how they can tell, like beside that, if they already turned on to the fixture affidavit of fixture, then on the title it will show land fee, right?
That's exactly right. There is in our legal system, we refer to land when it's owned by an individual as its own fee simple.
Fee simple,
and fee is a term that comes from Old English law.
Okay.
And it really doesn't have anything that we tie to today other than just history and everything, but that's how it's referred to as fee simple.
Okay, but lease is no good. Like land and lease.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But if you go into the county records and you check with the assessor's website, you can tell very quickly, is that you know what the address for the property is,
Right.
so you can look it up. And if you look it up, and on the assessor's website, it doesn't show that there is a dwelling on there, then it's probably personal property.
Because like sometimes like one of the time I happened to drive by the neighborhood, so beautiful, and the house large and big and all that, but like they have very low price. You know, like super low price. I go,
Right.
wow, this is very nice, and everything intact and everything. You know, yeah, but ended up like it's really a land lease. So, and then the people living there is up, the lease up already.
Right.
So I mean, they have to sell because they're afraid they lost the property when the lease owner want to take back the land.
The
right?
landlord
So
wants the land back.
everything, yeah.
Yep.
So they lost everything. They don't. There's no guarantee, right?
That's correct.
Yeah,
That's correct.
for that. Wow.
Unless it's specified in the lease.
Yeah, yeah.
There's no guarantee, and once the lease expires, that's a contract that's essentially expired.
Right. Yeah. Right. So that's a scary. Like in California, the same thing. You know, sometimes like on the neighborhood, like we're talking about HOA, like homeowner association, like our community, the whole community, beautiful in like Tustin or something. I remember that, and it's have very nice setup and very sturdy foundation and everything, but it's fallen to the land lease. Yeah.
Yep. So when it comes to those types of properties, you've got to be very careful.
Right.
But public records is usually your best source to verify it.
Right.
Go take a look at what the county assessor or the county tax
Right. Yeah, the
person
tax
has.
we can tell, right? The tax
Exactly.
will show if that's the personal or a real property.
Here in Arizona, if you go to the individual county assessors' websites,
Yes.
it lists on there any improvements. So, like even with your own personal house,
Right.
say that you've got a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house, and it's about 1,500 square feet, and you go, you know what, we're going to have some more children, so we're going to put an addition on there.
Right.
So you go to the city, you get the building permits, you put the addition on there. The next thing is the assessor's getting the building permit once you have the certificate of occupancy, and they're going, well, they increased the size of their house by 250 square feet.
Okay.
So now it goes,
Wow.
they add that onto it.
Yeah.
And when you see on the list of improvements, maybe you add a pool later on. So they have the addition to the house. If you've added a pool, those are additions and value added types of things
to the
property. And that will increase your property tax.
Wow.
Maybe not significantly, but nevertheless, it will list it on there, and it's a pretty good indication of it being real property.
Wow.
But it gives you that opportunity to look at it.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good to know. Yeah, because a lot of people like a cheap one and beautiful and nice and all that, but sometimes we fall into something we don't even understand.
Well, you could be in a situation where you buy a mobile home, and you might as well be buying a car.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, because it's still personal property.
Yeah. Because like there's still insurance, still the same thing, right?
Yep.
Just like when you own, the only difference is that not movable. You just stay sturdy in one place.
Exactly.
Yeah, right.
Exactly.
Yes.
But you going back and talking about some of the steps that have to be done.
Right.
It does have to be inspected. I know that they will look
the
for
fixture.
they'll
Affidavit.
look at serial numbers to make sure everything goes hand in hand
Right.
with the title,
Transfer.
the actual title
Okay.
that came from that manufactured home. So they'll verify everything, and then that becomes part of the affidavit of fixture as well.
But aren't they gonna find out if it's go down to the ground, then they have to see if it's legit, like all the work done correctly.
Correct.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah, well, they do that.
I believe they have to have a special engineer take a look at that.
Because I think if the owner know that he can turn that into a real property and earn some big value to it, then he didn't know, or what stopped him, to turn into the real property.
We
don't know if it's very difficult or not. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. There's some steps that need to be done. I would recommend go to a title company that knows how to do an affidavit of fixture, because they can help you do those types of steps.
Right.
And then, of course, there's engineers and inspectors out there that'll help you go through the process.
Is that like when they turn the fixture like that, then you say the title will show the property tax, right?
Correct.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. So the value of that manufactured home or mobile home goes in with the value of the land. And so those two combined is what gives you your property value.
And so you mentioned like they have the assessment, right, every year, so that they will know what you have done for the property, and then they base on the price and move
Correct.
on.
Correct. I might add though that you know, as far as showing what you've done to as far as improvements on the property, if you go out and you just build a shed on there, or you put a garage on there, and you don't go through and get a building permit, they won't know. But and that doesn't increase your value.
Oh.
The problem you have when you do something like that is that when it comes time to sell it, you can't claim that space. It's unpermitted work that was done. So at some point, you're going to have whatever jurisdiction you're in, whether it be the city of Mesa or city of Phoenix or Maricopa County or Pinell County, you're going to need their government services to come out to approve the building on there.
Because a lot of people, you know, sometimes when they build, they don't think, and they put all the money out already, and they're afraid to call, because what if like they call and that's not right? They will be asked to turn everything down. Well, you know, they lost all the work.
The consequences sometimes can be pretty severe. I mean, in some cases, if you had a contractor that came in and he did everything and it's up to code and everything, there may be what the city or the county may do is they may issue a permit.
All right.
They can charge
or do a little bit of correction or something like that.
They can order a correction order. But I've also known a few people, because they didn't follow all those particular things and they went ahead and built and they weren't following code, they've had to tear it down.
Yeah, see, so that's why a lot of people, the owner, they're afraid so. You know, it has been done already. They didn't think about that. They don't think like, they think, they need that, and they just turn into like they need another garage, or they need another room, another bathroom, whatever. They just do it outside, and they didn't think that's the land like that. It's automatically.
Right.
But they don't know when they sell it. They only can base on whatever they have in the original.
Exactly. And in some cases, like I said, and typically what I've seen is that's the point. At the point where you're trying to sell it.
Yes.
And that's where those things kind of catch up with you. In some cases, you may have a buyer who goes, you know, that garage out there, I don't care if there's a permit on it, I'll still buy the house from it. On the other hand, if you've got a home and maybe you took a patio and you enclose the patio and now you're using that as a bedroom, now that's living space. Yes. So it's extremely important to have that covered. And it affects things like
insulation.
It affects your mechanical systems.
Okay.
So your air conditioning may not work efficiently. In other words, your air conditioner is picked to size for that home. And so if you've added additional, it may be too much for it. It may not be insulated properly. Your insurance company may not insure it.
And also the loan, sometimes they see that they don't want a loan to it too.
Exactly right.
Yeah, they see like not approved. Yeah,
exactly
with the permit.
Right. Yeah. So I would say if you've got work that you know that was non-permitted work.
Yes.
And when I say non-permitted, that you didn't get a building permit.
Right.
And you're getting ready to sell it, you may want to have your own inspector come out and take a look at it and see if it's up to code.
And then have to turn that into permit. Yeah, I think a lot happened in California that they did it. Yeah, without checking. But that is really a good point. We spent a little bit of time, maybe we got lucky. Because not everybody can build. They gotta have knowledge. They got the contractor. They gotta know what's right. You know, when they did to build, they build that. Yes. And then if the inspector come out and they see like, that looks sturdy, everything good, then they will issue the permit, right? Yeah.
Well, they'll issue. Ultimately, what you're looking for is to get the certificate of occupancy.
Oh, the certificate of occupancy.
So that clears it.
That allow people live in there.
Yes.
Right.
Yep. the last thing you want to do is have a situation where you've done non-permitted work and somebody gets injured.
Yeah, that's gonna be horrible. Yeah.
And your insurance company is not likely
cover.
to stand behind you.
Yeah.
In many cases, what I've found in those situations is people get a little bit afraid of how much it's going to cost.
Yeah.
A number of years ago, I had a home in Tempe, and they had converted the garage to an office.
Oh.
And so, from my perspective,
yes,
is using it as a rental property, it made more sense to convert the office back into a garage. So I went to the city of Tempe. I got a building permit.
Right.
And they looked at the age of the house, and the house was old enough that it did not have direct wired smoke alarms. So that was one of the things they added to my permit.
Yes.
But so they issued me a permit to turn the garage back, or turn the office back into the garage, but I had to put the smoke alarms in there.
That's not bad.
But once the smoke alarms were in, they waived all the fees. They returned my fees again. So the cities,
nice.
they try to work with you on that.
Oh,
So
that's nice. That would be wonderful, because like they help out too.
Yeah,
they understand, right?
They're looking to solve problems. They're not looking.
That's really so. We put another word, like, it's safety. You know, right?
Exactly right.
It's safety issue. Yeah, for everyone.
Exactly
that's true.
right.
Yeah, because sometimes, like, if they didn't know, they built some like a cooking area or something, you know, or like plumbing, or they do washer, they dryer, go somewhere, whatever, right? Yeah. So that's really a safety issue. So we have to think of that way. We have to, like, either you lose money. I mean, not lose money. We're talking about, like, we take a chance so that we can get something now,
right.
You know, instead of waiting down the line, and you can be an issue, big issue too.
And you just hit on something,
okay.
You know, where they're taking a chance. What we've talked about, a lot of the things we've talked about is reducing risk.
Yes.
Because the last thing you want to do is invest in something, and you do something that causes risk, where you're having to pay extra taxes or fines, or like I said, somebody gets injured,
right? And
the insurance company won't stand behind you.
Right. That's true. Yep. That's very right. So I think, like, anyone that just put some thought in it. You know, like, sometimes I know, like, a lot of people just think of the shortcut. You know, they just want to be fast and easy, but maybe that's going to bring trouble, you know, down the line. Yeah.
Correct.
Right. So so then the tax. So back to it, like, when they assess the tax, I see some of the property they have like a special tax. What is that? Like, is that like beside the fiscal year, like a regular annual fiscal year?
Usually it's some of the additional, when they collect tax,
yes,
there's a variety of other institutions that receive money out of that tax.
Oh, okay.
In other words, when you look at your tax bill,
a lot of
there'll be
department.
A lot of departments within the county.
Like,
but then there's other entities,
sewer, trash, and all
like
that.
like the community colleges, school districts, all of those different things. They get
part of that. Yeah.
Yep. So some of those can fall under that special tax, especially supposedly if they've done a bond election or a special election or something to cover the costs of building a new school or putting in new sewers. You know, it's a special thing. They can add that in there as well. Fire districts are in there. Your police and stuff like that is also.
But like the question would raise, like, the special tax didn't come at the same time of the fiscal year tax. Sometimes they come after that. You know, like, they purchase the property already, and then they have a regular annual tax, and then they also have supplemental tax, or what they call it's not a special tax, it's a supplemental tax in addition to the regular tax bill. So I guess, like, when things happen, the tax bill already created, and then the properties get to sell to a new owner, and so at that time they create the supplemental tax. But the question, so I think, like, whatever the period that cover, the seller will have to pay whatever when they own the property, and after that when the buyer own. Yeah.
I can say that I have not seen that. That's a highly unusual situation. You know, the taxes here in Arizona, they're due October.
So you
1st.
mean they combine everything? Because in California, I've seen it.
Yeah.
I see like supplemental tax. Later on, like sometimes it's a lot too. Like people pay already, and then they got the bill, and they say they got the county sent over and say they late on the tax, and they say, "Oh, I already pay." Then no, you still have outstanding balance, and they don't even know. And because when the tax bill sent to them, they say, "I just picked the large number I pay." Because I thought that the combined, but no, it's the small number also a separate bill that they have to pay together.
Yeah, I've never here in Arizona you don't see that.
Yeah.
In Arizona, the tax bills come out in September. It's everything.
It doesn't matter like if the assessed before or after the time tax time or anything like that.
No, and in fact, it's kind of funny because when you talk about it, you think about it this way. If the assessor's always somewhat behind, and when the bill goes out in September, generally they've entered all that data in by the summer.
Okay, prior. Yeah.
So they're several months in arrears.
Oh, okay.
So let's suppose that you buy during the summer you buy a brand new house in a subdivision. So the as far as the assessor is concerned, in their records, that's a piece of bare land.
Ah, okay.
So you can be in that house, say in June, and you won't be until a year after the following September. So basically, you're looking at 14 or 15 months before you get your first bill with the house being built on it.
Wow.
So it takes that long. And I've been in that situation and was kind of curious to see how it worked. But it takes that long for it to catch up, because the only time that the tax bills, the property tax bills from the county come out is in September.
Oh.
And then that's why I keep going back to October 1st is when they're due.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So we all never forget. I mean, everything that we forget, but like the tax time. Yeah. Usually end of the year, beginning of the year, get ready for the personal tax. Yeah.
Yep. But going back to the timing on property tax, like I said, generally speaking, there's 2 payment periods, and you're always paying in arrears. In other words, 2023's taxes, the first bill goes out in September, and they're due October 1st. The second half of 2023's taxes aren't due until March 1st.
Yeah.
So here we're going to be in 2024, and we're paying the taxes from July 1st through December 31st. So they're always paid in arrears.
I see. So then when they receive the tax bill, usually is there any if they don't remember, if they are the new owner, the tax bill sent to an old address. Then is there like when they transfer? What's the time frame that for the address request?
Well, sometimes
before the tax bill.
Generally speaking, if you're buying a property again, let's say you're buying a property and it's within the 2023 tax year. The title company, if you're going through a title and escrow company, they will calculate the taxes, and they will go ahead and they will collect taxes from the owner. Let's say, and let me give you an example. Suppose you're living in a house for 9 months of the year,
right?
And then you decide to sell it in September, and they buy it, and so now the new owner is in there October, November, and December. So when the title company is calculating what the taxes are, they'll look up on the county assessor's website to see what the tax amount is. And let's just say it's, for this purpose, it's $1,000.
Okay.
So they'll go, okay, Scott, you were the owner for 9 months. That's 3/4 of a year, and they can figure it closer. They can figure it right down to the day. But for just quick purposes, let's say it was for 9 months of the year, which is 75% of the year. So my tax bill I will pay $750 of that $1,000. Now you've been in there October, November, and December, so that's another quarter of the year. You'll pay for your quarter of ownership time. You'll pay the taxes on it. So you would pay 25% of the taxes. The title company will collect that whole year's worth of taxes, and that will be filed at the time of change of ownership to make sure that you're protected.
I see.
Unless you go to the title company and say, I don't want that to happen, but most all the time that's the way they're going to do it.
Or even when they purchase, they have the mortgage company pay the tax for them.
Exactly. And the mortgage companies, because they know it's such a hassle, they know that people tend to forget. So they go ahead, and when you purchase a property, as part of the record that goes into the county, they also find out, okay, I own this property as an individual, and here's my mortgage company, and they're telling the county, hey, you send us the bill, you send him the bill, but we're the ones that are going to be paying the bill. And so when they get it, they'll look at it and they'll go, okay, taxes are due October 1st. So then the mortgage company will take care of the taxes.
So let's say if the mortgage company late on the payment, then the tax bill have penalty.
Yes.
Who can we dispute with the mortgage company to not pay?
It's the mortgage company's duty to pay it. They've contracted to do it. They're collecting the funds to make the payment. On occasion, you may have a shortage in your escrow account, so then you need to either pay into it, or you can have your escrow holdback increased.
Right. But because, this can be a shortage if the late occur. If they don't make the payment on time, then all the late fee occur, and will bring up. By the time they still say, oh, they pay the tax, but the tax is in a different amount, including the late fee. See,
well,
that's why. I think the responsibility is still the person that owns, not the mortgage company, but they don't care. They will say, okay, that's your account, so that's what we pay, and that we pay back. So that's why when we hold let the mortgage company make the payment. I got a mistake that I didn't check. I didn't know about it until after it's done. It's late. But if we understand that in advance, then we see the county tax not clear yet. For that tax period. Right. Then we have to contact the mortgage company and ask when they're going to send the payment.
Absolutely.
Right.
And you brought up a good point. And we've talked about it a couple of times. Nobody cares about your money as much as you do.
Yes, exactly.
So if you know that your taxes are due,
right,
you can go to the treasurer, the county treasurer's site,
right,
because they're the ones where the payment goes into.
Right.
So you can tell by looking at their site whether the payment was received.
Oh, they have that? Because sometimes if the payment come in and they don't have time to check that yet, but they check and post it right away.
Sometimes it takes a little bit of time, but
because I see the mortgage payment, they always make the last minute payment.
Yep.
They don't do it before, and then when we checked it, we always check before, and it's not posted. Yeah.
But usually, what you should expect to see is that if it's due in October. So now here comes your November statement for what's due. Right. Look on your November statement just to make sure that they went ahead and paid it.
Okay. Yeah. So you mean the statement, the mortgage statement that they sent over, that they break down what? Oh, okay. Yeah, that's so. Yeah, because sometimes we're busy, we don't have time to keep calling here, calling there, check on here, check on there, right? So the statement is really efficient. For
if
that.
You need to, everybody's got a smartphone. Just put it in there in your calendar. Hey, property taxes are due. Just use that as kind of a reminder to go check.
You'll check. Yeah.
And once you've satisfied yourself that it's been paid properly, then you don't have to worry about it till the next year.
Yeah, because even a little bit still really add up. For the penalty.
It can add up quickly. Yes,
it can add up. People, no wonder, they say they have outstanding of tax bill. Sometimes when the tax bill pay, they don't cover all the late, and then the late will still remain in the account.
Oh yeah, It'll remain on the account. And if you don't pay it, and then there's fees that accumulate from that. There's people out there who actually will pay the taxes. They're called tax liens. So after several years, if you haven't made the payments, someone can come in and they can pay the taxes because the county needs the money.
So we can check our property to see if all the tax has been paid, right? Because sometimes the owner didn't know, like they don't receive anything, they don't see the bill, and how would they know that they still own the tax or if the tax all clear?
Right.
Yeah. So they can check on the internet, right?
Exactly right. Yes.
With a APN number, like a parcel number.
You can use the parcel number, and in some cases they can use addresses.
Address for that. Okay. So I hope everyone will get some a little bit of reminder because we all know.
Right.
Yeah.
The easiest way is, like I said, we go back to September. You get your tax bill.
Yes.
Hold on to it.
Yeah.
Just hold on to it because it does have the APN, which is the assessor's parcel number, and it's an 8-digit number.
Right.
Sometimes it has a letter, but that is a unique identifier for your property.
Oh, I see. Okay. And then that's the single family resident, but if there's a triplex or something, then the parcel number also
it's the same format.
The same format, right?
So
same format.
It doesn't matter whether it's a bare piece of ground, a single family home, or a big strip center.
Because all of a sudden, if the owners come out and say, "Oh, I didn't own this big tax amount," and then they didn't realize, like no tax bill, no nothing sent to the address.
Yeah.
And so we just sit there and thought everything free and clear.
Yeah.
Who knows?
It can put you in a bad position. That's for sure.
Yeah. Right. Okay. So I think that's another reminder. We each gonna have to check our tax record to make sure it's zero balance. The prior tax year or the year before, sometimes they don't remind, right? I mean, they're not going to send you a little bill because whatever they will see in there.
Generally, what you're going to get is just that one time, that one bill in September.
Okay, all right. So each state could be different, right? I mean, I know California, I know Arizona.
Every state is different, and so it just behooves you the way they, on every piece of real estate, you are going to pay property tax. And that is based off the value of the property.
Okay.
So it doesn't matter whether you're in Illinois or you're in California. There is going to be some basis for how they come up with an amount, a taxable amount, and then what your actual tax bill is.
So let's say you mentioned the tax rate for the rental higher than the tax rate for a single family. Is there any document for people to complete if because they own too many houses, they have to choose one house to be their primary, right? So they have to file that with the county.
Exactly right.
I see.
And then, of course, the IRS is going to look at it and go, which one is your primary home? Because suppose you start selling those homes. If you sell your primary home, and the appreciation on that home for a married couple can be over $500 or $500,000. $500,000. And so what we're saying here is, in that case, suppose you buy a house for $100,000.
Right.
And you're single when you buy it.
All right.
And you go down the road and 10 years goes by and you decide to sell the house, and all the neighborhood, now those homes are selling for $1 million.
Oh, okay.
So you sell your house and it's worth $1 million.
Right.
So the capital gains on that, subtract that 100,000 from the million, that's 900,000. Then from the 900,000, subtract the allowance for a single person,
single family,
and it's 250,000.
Right.
So you can reduce it on down again.
Okay.
Now, for a married couple, it's 500,000. So we still have that $100,000 house. It sells for $1 million. You subtract the 100,000 from it. There's 900,000. Subtract the 500,000. Now that capital gains is going to only go to the
400,000.
Exactly.
And then, like, if they fix stuff or they build things or they do any construction for those, and also get added and then deducted.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
And so, you know, it's highly unlikely you're going to have a $100,000 home that goes to $1 million without having a lot of significant improvements.
Right.
So suppose they come in and you know, it's a nice size lot. It's was worth 100,000.
You put cement, you put.
They build another house.
But now,
and
that's true.
And they use the original structure, that original $100,000 structure, as a casitas or a mother-in-law's quarter.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
So now that property is worth $1 million, but you've got construction costs, and so all of those things. So now that 400,000 that the married couple had, let's say that the construction costs were 300,000.
They only have 100,000 to pay.
That's correct.
Responsible for the tax. Capital gain.
But all of those types of things are things that you need to sit down with your accountant and do.
Yeah.
I mean,
because if counting that way, if doing that way, then they don't need the 1031 exchange for another property.
That's correct. And you really can't use a 1031 exchange
for the
on a primary property.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
A 1031 exchange is geared towards deferring taxes on investment properties only.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. So how do they, let's say you say the assessment, they have the base, right, for the prior year. And then if there's, let me ask you here, if the owner, the name of the owner transfer to another, the family member or something, but there is a different name, will they consider as the rate at that year that the new name took over?
It depends.
Okay.
There's not a hard and fast answer on that, especially using the scenario you just described with a family member.
Okay.
If it's a family member, you're doing a quick claim deed. There's some legal aspects to doing a quick claim deed. And it's designed to make sure a family member, or, you know, say it's a beneficiary deed. Maybe somebody passed away.
Right.
So, and it goes to the next family member. There's not a true change of ownership. There is a change of ownership, but I mean, it's not like you're selling it to a brand new seller.
So they base on the prior year taxes and move on.
Exactly.
Because if they base on the new one, then the market value would be huge.
Well, in the case of where it's staying within the family, they're not likely to change it.
Okay.
Now, if you do go through, and now, you know, we were just talking about that $100,000 home.
Right.
Now it's selling for $1 million. When that new buyer comes in and buys it, here we go with another affidavit. But the affidavit of value is done by the title company, and they tell what the amount was, who the buyer, who the seller was, what the dollar amount of the purchase was, and whether it was an arm's length transaction, all of those types of things, and then that information goes in. That information is collected, and they can use that to raise the rate. So maybe they've originally been doing it just at the 100,000, and then as the improvements trickled in, they just added those up. But now you've got a brand new market value. And so the thing I always tell folks is this: in Arizona, the taxes, your home is never assessed. The assessed value is never the market value. Almost never.
Almost never.
But if you look at a chart, it generally follows the same shape as what the market is doing.
Right.
And there's some, by statute, by Arizona law, there's some formulas that they have to go through to make those calculations.
Oh, I see. Like there's a ratio, the percentage. Got to be something started, right?
Yeah. And so that has to be calculated. Now, back when there were all the foreclosures, values were falling rapidly. So in some cases, what you were seeing that the assessed values, they were still high, but the market values were down here.
Yes.
So it took them a little while. Within 2 years, they're always caught.
Will they go down all the way like that?
Yeah, they'll go down. They went down. And even now, as you look back on those charts, when you see where the assessed values have gone, there's some dips and ups and downs, and it follows when our prices have gone up down on the
really?
marketplace.
Oh, because I see that they increase, but I don't see they decrease.
Oh yes, oh yeah,
Yeah, they decrease too. Yeah.
I've seen a number of them where they've decreased.
Oh,
But
okay.
it's not over just 1 or 2 years. It
So
usually,
slowly.
if you if you look at the tax history of a property over 20 years,
Yeah.
you'll see some cases where the assessed value
Right.
went down. Some cases pretty fast, but like I said, it follows what was happening in the market,
Right.
and it's generally within 2 years behind. It's kind of a lagging change.
So let me ask you here, like the house, if we build, you mentioned gazebo, okay, look nice like that. Does it need a permit for that?
If it's structural, you should probably get a permit.
Okay, because only like we get a permit, then we can advertise it when we sell it. Like that's the gazebo, right?
Well, and one thing else to consider, when you look at those types of improvements, the counties usually have some type of specification.
Yes.
Say it's only 10 feet by 10 feet.
Right.
That's a smaller size. You may not have to go get a permit.
Oh, okay.
But if it's larger than that, then they'll specify it. The reason for that being, in many cases, is once you start getting into those bigger sizes, now you've got structural components that they want to be inspected.
Oh, okay.
And we go back again. Risks, people getting hurt.
Risk, yeah. How about like a big storage? Like if we have a big land, we want to get like a closed storage. Will that consider a structure?
Well, once again, that's you need to look at how big it is. Some of the small, you can go to Home Depot or Lowe's and buy it.
Yeah, they already got that, and you put in, but like we built, then that's become like custom made.
Yeah.
Then that's will need the city approval.
But you'll need to you'll need to look at what their requirements are. If you're above that size, and I use 10 by 10 because I was familiar.
Right.
I did a metal shop building on my property.
Oh, I see.
And I knew that because 10 by 10 is 100 square feet.
Right.
And the building I was putting up was closer to 800 square feet. I knew I had to get a permit.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But whatever jurisdiction you're in, whether it's the city of Mesa or Pinell County, you'll just need to follow what their rules are. But you can call building safety and ask them.
Yeah, I think a lot of people now I hope that they all listen to our program today, because like mentioned, if they want to have a more value for their property, and the safety issue, no running problem at the end when they sell it, they don't run around for something not permit, right? Correct. So we gotta go to the city, go to a building safety or whatever, right? Yeah. So ask for the certificate of occupancy if there's like a bedroom or something.
Exactly.
Right.
You want to make sure it's done right.
Okay. Yeah, because I think they are afraid, like, oh, what if it's not right and we lost all the money that we spent to build that place, house.
You can always call and ask them. You don't have to identify yourself.
They said, so what's the requirement for you to issue a permit, right?
There you go. If I just say, I want to put up a big storage building on my property.
Yeah.
What's the biggest I can build? How far? One of the areas where people get into trouble is, around your property. Imagine you've got a square property.
Yes.
Okay. All around that property, there are distances that you have to be back from that property line.
Oh, yes.
For example,
right.
On your street frontage, you may need to be 25 to 40 feet back.
Oh, okay.
You on the backs end of your property to back up to your neighbors, you may need to be 25 feet away. On the sides, 25. It may be less. It may be 5 to 10, 20 feet.
Yeah.
But if you build outside in those areas, you may have to tear it down anyway.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So you need to, you need to find out if you can get a variance if you've already done that.
Oh, wow. You make a good point. Yeah. Because from the house, from that house, even your land, but then if your land next to someone property, right?
Or
so
that's the street.
Oh, street. Okay. But like sometimes they build in the back. If it's like then they have to be 25 feet. 25 feet.
Well,
whatever.
And 25 feet is not necessarily the magic answer. The key thing there is go to the county
and say,
or the city and see what if it's zoned, for example, if it's zoned RS1, which is a single family zoning
Right.
with small lots,
Yeah.
you may not have any room to build.
Oh, okay.
On the other hand, if it's a larger lot, say it's an acre size lot, you may have plenty of room to build. You just need to make sure you
But
don't
like,
build the wrong spot.
let's say, because I mentioned to you that I have that land that R4 to build a 4 property, but
Okay.
it's only one house at the time.
Okay.
So when we build, that's what we allow, right? Because on the zoning, I mean on the what they call R4, like resident, like four
Okay.
house. Yeah, so they are is allowed to build 4 of them. Then we safe.
Perhaps.
Perhaps. Okay.
Because you always need to go back and see, do you have enough land space to build those houses?
Oh, okay.
Remember what I was talking about, about having those setbacks?
Yeah.
As soon as you break it down to start coming up with new houses,
Yeah.
if they are going to be on separate parcels where people can buy them individually,
Yeah.
you've got, once again, now you've created new property lines.
Okay.
And by creating new property lines, you'll need to go back to the code and see what the setbacks are in this new property, because it may change the zoning. So you go through, you look at that, you make sure that you've got enough space to put the house inside that building envelope.
Okay. Yeah. So those are the things that we have to be careful, even when we're looking to buy, like purchase,
Exactly.
right? So we see, oh, it's a good deal, it's something like that, but everything got to have a permit, right? And if not a permit, then if that's information from the city or whatever, then is that legit? Is that we're talking about like legal,
Right.
legal to stay in there or not?
And that's a good point, because things do change. Sometimes because of government action, whether it be the city council or the board of supervisors, they may change some of the requirements
Right.
for a property. So let's say that you had a property that allowed, or the property required that it be an acre in size, and you wanted horses on there.
Ah, okay.
And then they changed the zoning for those types of properties so that now they had to be an acre and a quarter in size. So what you want to do is you want to save that for your record. You'll be grandfathered in, is what it's called. Save it for your record. So you.
Oh, okay. Wow, it's good. Yeah, like, I know, like with the house that we have a big lot. Some neighborhood depend on the HOA too, if they allow horses in there, right?
Exactly right.
Yeah.
So as we talked about
like
before,
we have a space, yeah.
as we talked about before, sometimes you've got government action, where the zoning and the building codes affect you. But if you're building in an HOA, sometimes you got HOA restrictions.
That's true.
I've seen it in many cases. In fact, I sold some land here last year where the HOA was established, or the owners association was established back in the 60s. It wasn't active or anything. CC&Rs were in place. They had been recorded properly. And they said that the smallest that the lots could be broken down to was 2.5 acres, and that there could only be one house.
Oh boy!
Now the zoning said that they could break it down to an acre and a quarter.
Oh!
But that was a case where now
so they have to fall into the HOA rule.
They have to follow the HOA rules.
Oh!
And further, the HOA required that all the homes be single story, and that they be at least 1,500 square feet.
Oh!
The idea was, what they were doing is they wanted to protect property values. They wanted to create a large property that could be used for horses with a larger home, slightly larger home.
Right.
And then they add other things to it, so that they were essentially, the goal was in that HOA was to make it horse properties.
Oh, I see.
And so you may have competing interests going on. You've got some of these HOAs that have artificial lakes.
Yes.
Some of them that have golf courses.
Why? Yeah.
So each of them has their own interest in how they want to protect and promote the properties of those homes.
But I thought, like, if it's inside, then the association couldn't get involved.
Generally speaking, they don't get involved. I have heard in some limited cases where if you do some type of improvement or changes inside, that they become interested. And I have not experienced it, but what I would say is potentially they could have that authority.
No, I see, like, maybe I can give an example, like, because before, right, the house, they come to each individual owner, and they will ask, oh, I want to have my basketball court, but I need a light to point it in there. But when they come to the association, then the zoning, the architect just say, like, the light, if the light you put up will interfere the neighbor, you know, like the higher you have, then the larger light gonna affect everyone's privacy.
Exactly.
You know? So he has to go to each of those houses and get the signature approved. Then he'll be allowed to put that. Like I know a friend say, "Oh, I signed it. I didn't know," but now I regret it so bad because it's light up all, like they can see everything in my house, inside my house. Yeah. So that's the issue right there. Yeah. So whatever they do something, then the association got to be approved. But there's a reason why they did not.
Exactly right.
Yeah. But like the owner there, the owner surrounding the neighbor, they just want to help out. They didn't even think, they don't know that it's going to affect them.
Right.
For that.
Right.
Yeah. So I think like the association pretty. Some they do a very good work.
Some do a terrific job.
They protect for the whole community.
Right.
But I think the more houses in the community, then the better association will.
Well, generally they're bigger and they're better funded.
Yeah, they have enough money.
And they usually have a professional management company that's overseeing management of the properties and making sure that the CCNRs are being adhered to and the HOA rules are all being adhered to.
Okay, so now you mentioned like you're gonna talk a little bit about market value, about the trend, about what's for the property.
Yes. Earlier before we started the show, we were talking about what's going on, and here in Arizona, we have a very distinct shape to our our growth in sales. In other words, we're not uniform across the board. We don't sell 5,000 houses every month. Some months we sell only 4,000 houses. In other months we sell 11,000.
Oh, okay.
And so we're coming into a time period where our sales season is starting. And generally speaking, if you look at the preceding year, so we're talking back into 2023, things were starting to slow down as the summer ended.
Yeah.
And kids were back in school, and
the weather
was still hot.
The
weather, and then we ended up into the holidays.
Right,
Thanksgiving through New Year's. There's not as many sales in that time period, Thanksgiving through New Year's, as there are in other periods.
Right.
After the first of the year, almost every year, that first of the year, end of January, end of December, beginning of January, that is the low point for sales. So from there, it ramps up and it goes very, very strong into March, April, and May. And so each of these next few months, we should all expect to see more and more.
The more sale, right?
Exactly. So it'll be almost like a steady growth
go up. Yeah.
And it'll be very distinct. Always remember that those sales, the activity for those sales is 30 to 45 days in arrears. Because if the sale occurs in January, it was probably placed in escrow in December. Right. So it takes
it's like 45 days for closing.
Exactly right. So it gradually ramps up, but the work is being done now.
I see.
Now, the other thing to consider too is, one of Arizona's things they always like to brag about is our weather.
Yes.
And we have lots of folks who come down from cold, snowy climates. So I can give you a perfect example. The city of Apache Junction, they calculate that their permanent population is around 40,000. This time of the year, it goes almost to 80,000.
Oh.
And those are the snow, what they call the snowbirds, or the winter visitors. They come in. In many cases, those folks are a little more affluent than the residences, and so they come in and they buy real estate.
Yeah.
So they contribute to the overall value.
Right.
And the purchase
Because they know in the future and down the line they'll make big money.
Well, and there's lots and lots of second homes here in Arizona.
Yep.
People who and it's not just Americans.
And they rent it out or something.
They can rent it. They can use it part of the year.
Yeah.
But we have a lot of folks from different countries who buy vacation rentals here.
Yeah.
Because they like the convenience of coming to the valley.
Yes.
And going golfing or doing whatever activity is popular at the time. But it gives them a place to stay and they're not having to hassle with the hotel.
Right, exactly. That's their own place. Yeah,
Exactly.
That's always the best for the investment that way.
But those people, once again, they're not, because that's not their primary home, they'll have a different tax rate.
Yeah. Even and they out of state too, right?
Yep.
I mean, that's a different.
Well, out of state is not going to. It's
Uh-huh.
the purpose of the property.
Okay.
If it's still an owner occupied property, they can list it as non-primary.
Oh, okay, okay, yeah. Oh, yeah. Let's say they save that house for a vacation and they live from a different place. Then on this state, they can still consider that as a primary for them.
Exactly right.
Okay.
You always got to remember what your primary.
Yeah.
Look at the IRS rules because everybody's going to follow the IRS rules of what a primary home is.
Okay.
So you basically your primary home is where you're living for in excess of 6 months.
Okay.
So over half the year you live in this home.
Okay. Oh, that's called. People can have two primary homes.
No.
No, they just have one. Whether they
Just one.
travel. Yeah.
Yeah. If they travel, you still have to designate one as your primary.
As a primary. The other one is like a second home or
Right.
something.
Yep.
Oh.
Over the course of a number of years, if you don't live in that home long enough, when you sell it, you may not be able to declare it as your primary home.
Oh, okay.
Under the tax rules.
Under the tax rules.
So you need to really pay attention to that.
So like maybe calculate it a smart way, like before we sell it, we just stay there for like a year or something and then sell it.
That's one way to be safe about it.
Yeah. So how about the interest with the house rising like that and people like jump out and buy? They pay cash or what? Are they borrowing?
No, that's an interesting question. There's a number of different things going on. Of course, here in the state of Arizona, they estimate that we're short 70,000 homes. Affordable homes.
Oh, wow.
And what that means is that the average buyer cannot afford a lot of homes. There's that many. Average purchase or median purchase price is about $438,000. So
438.
Less than half the folks out there can afford that median price.
Oh.
So that's where they figure they're short 70,000 affordable homes.
Wow.
What happened, just to give you an example, is before interest rates went up, when we were at 3% in that range, and I'm just going to give you just general numbers here, but when folks were looking at it at 3%, a lot of people could afford that $438,000.
True. Yes.
But when the interest rates kept creeping up and creeping up, that ate out what they could afford. So the interest, say they could afford $3,500. Now all of a sudden that interest on that home they were trying to afford, now it's gone up by $1,300.
Oh, wow.
On top of what they were going to pay before.
Oh,
and so that was too much.
That's
so
true.
they dropped back. So now, generally speaking, they're looking at folks who who were just on the bottom end of being able to afford that median price home.
Right.
It's diminished their buying power. So instead of looking at 430,000, they're probably looking at something closer to 350,000.
Oh, okay.
As far as their affordability.
So then the builder we need to build something lower or smaller.
Well, and interestingly enough, what the builders do, because the builders, most of the big builders like Pulte and D.R. Horton, they're generational. The business itself lives longer than we do as people.
Oh, okay.
And so they've been through ups and downs.
Yeah,
and everything.
so they learn the statistic. They know
when to buy. For example, the land that they're currently building some of these subdivisions on, they bought it back in 2008 when it was super cheap.
Yeah.
So now they're building on it.
Wow.
But they always come up with ideas. And so one of their ideas now is, let's say that we go to try to buy a house, and we can't afford it.
Right.
And because the interest rate is 7 or 8%. What the builders are doing is they're going, okay, we'll give you a deal. We're going to buy down the interest rate.
Yeah.
So they artificially reduce that mortgage interest rate down 2-3%.
Is that in-house? The in-house or?
They can do that
okay.
in-house. And so they lower it down. That increases the affordability. You can get in there.
To buy.
But you know as well as I do, what happens after 2 or 3 years? Boom, it
Boom
goes back up.
Yes.
So what you're actually gambling on, and probably right now it's not a bad gamble, but what you're gambling on is for the interest rates to come down.
Right.
So when the interest rates do come down, then you get a new mortgage.
Refinance it. Yeah,
exactly
and all
right.
that. Right.
I think a lot of the lending professionals are thinking that sometime this year, the Fed has not raised rates for a little bit.
They're sturdy right now.
And so
not so.
the market likes stability. And like I was saying, so now you've got the builders, they come up with ideas.
Yeah.
Believe me, mortgage companies are coming up with ideas and doing similar things, buying down the rates. But they're trying to make it so that people who want to buy can come back and buy.
Wow. Yes, that's a way.
What's hurting right now is our lack of inventory. Other than new builds, new builds are holding their own. But as far as resale homes, there's a lot of folks out there who are going, I got my mortgage at 3%.
Oh.
So now if I sell,
they don't want to sell.
Now I'm going to pay 6%.
That's true.
So my buying power has been diminished.
Yeah, because like if they say, oh, the price for the value of the house went up all the way, they sell it so that they can go out and buy a smaller house. But that even the same amount of money that they currently have.
Exactly right.
Oh.
So they have to think about it from the same way. Can they buy and stand the risk for a while and then refinance?
That's really a gamble. That's really taking a risk because nobody knows future.
Well, you never know the future, but I do think that there's a number of signs saying that the Fed is gonna lower it.
We're low. Yeah.
Some of the mortgage companies are predicting that in the second half of the year that we may see rates down into the 5s again. And what a lot of them say is that when rates are in the 5s, that's kind of the magic number to get people back in on both sides. Both the folks that want to sell and they don't want to lose their 3%. They don't want to lose the
interest,
and then the other folks who can't afford
the high interest.
6 or 7%.
Wow, that's a good way. Wow.
Now, with all of that going on, with the interest rates going up and people buying less, you would think the prices went down, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
So, here in the last year, actually, new inventory continues to stay down. But this is the interesting thing.
Oh, wow.
I'll show it. I'll find it right
it's
here.
Really, I always excited to know about the number of the house.
Average new list prices are up over 6%.
Wow.
Year over year. So 23 over 22. Median prices were up. Median list prices were up 4.4%.
4.4%. Oh.
The average sales price in 2023 went up 8.7% above 2022. And that's with interest rates going up to...
Wow, yeah.
So, I mean, there's
still increase with the number, but even with the high interest and all that.
And then the median price went up 4.4%.
Wow.
The thing to take that everybody says, because I hear this continually, prices on homes are going to fall. There's no reason for them to fall.
Yeah.
Because there's not enough inventory.
Right. They don't have enough. They fall. They sell everything. They don't have any more.
That's right. It's taking a little bit longer to sell, but they're selling.
Yeah.
So when they're thinking, okay, the interest rates are gonna fall, and then we'll be able to buy. Well, the values of the homes is not going to go down, but the desire to purchase the home is going to go up. And so now the sellers are going to raise their prices.
Yeah, so that's the seller market.
The anticipation should be that in the second half of the year, interest rates will be lower, more home sales, and a higher sale price.
So we have to think and then see which one that we want to decide to for the New Year resolution,
right?
Or like looking to buy to save, or
I'm in networking groups with other real estate professionals, and I like what I'm hearing from some of the mortgage people.
Right.
Buy the house you love now. get the best deal you can, and anticipate refinancing.
Refinance later on.
Yes.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, because they have 3 years, 5 years. Yeah. Well, that's really a lot that we covered today, Scott. I think we went overboard. We went over the like 10 minutes of our show, but it's great because it's a great information and all the discussion, everything. We're really excited. We want to know more, but we have to say bye to our viewer, and we can see everyone next week.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for watching VAATV Real Estate Entertainment. We hope to see you next Thursday with Scott Barlow. And if you have any question, please send Scott information in the screens right there with information for Scott. Any question, any question. Thank you for watching VAATV.
LinhVi xin cảm ơn sự theo dõi của tất cả quý vị trong những giây phút vừa qua. Chương trình VAATV xin kính chào, tạm biệt và xin hẹn gặp lại quý vị vào lần phát hình kỳ tới. Mọi chi tiết về thông tin thương mại và bảo trợ, xin mời quý vị hãy liên lạc về địa chỉ email vaatelevision@gmail.com và số điện thoại là 480 289 9816 480 289 9816, website vaatv.com và vaaznews.com. Xin kính chào, tạm biệt.